Okay, we're gonna go live in 5.
Welcome, students, to Monk Meditation, the show about monks in the world of Warcraft.
We meet with Monkioh from Midwinter about Mythic. We're gonna help you hurry through some heroics and plan to pwn in PvP, coming up on Monk Meditation, episode 36.
Here's your host, Chai T.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Monk Meditation, show all about monks in the world of Warcraft, and we're joined by some mythically geared, ready to rock monks tomorrow. Alright, let's start off with Air. Sir, how are you?
That was a good intro this morning. I like the way you word crafted that together. That sounded good there, Chai.
Little alliteration.
Doing well! Yeah, doing well. It's getting ready to rock and roll. My garrison is garrisoning. My dungeons have been dungeoned. Challenge mode dailies have been challenged. So, tomorrow, raiding, kind of. 2 days from now, raiding with the team. I am excited. We are very excited.
Yes. Alright, going to LeBlue. Sir, how are you?
Doing all right. Been running 5 garrisons simultaneously in the effort to get ready for Mythic raiding that we may or may not start the next week it's open, but hopefully soon. Outside of trying to nuke them from orbit, just been running the challenge modes as well, getting completely unlucky with gear, and ready for raids. Raid time yet?
Yes.
Is it raid time yet?
And now our special guest, Monkioh from Midwinter. How you doing, sir?
Doing excellent, just all finishing up on our heroics, getting all the 5 healers geared up for many runs this week coming up for heroics, and then Mythic the following week. Can't wait.
Oh man, it's gonna be a good time for you, I'm sure.
Five.
Yeah.
5.
5. Alright, so for me, slowly but surely getting geared up. I'm not going for world first or anything, so I'm just taking my time. Living by the Pandaren credo of slow down. So I'm kind of bouncing between Windwalker and Mistweaver a lot, getting really comfortable with Mistweaver and 5-mans. Can be a little bit stressful at times, but overall a lot of fun. Went into Molten Core with a Convert to Raid team, and we were on our way to Ragnaros when that DDoS attack happened on Friday night.
Ouch.
Yeah. Luckily, however, Lady Chai was on a different server, and she didn't get disconnected at the same time, and so we were actually able, after like 90 minutes of everyone just getting DC'd and couldn't connect and all that, we were actually able to pull everyone back in and finish it. So, yay. Got my crown.
So you joined her instance.
She was in our instance.
Okay, so she was part of it beforehand.
Yeah, she was raiding with us, and then everyone else got disconnected, so she was sitting there alone in Molten Core with 39 other people just running in place for like half an hour.
Guys, it's okay. Molten Core is really short. Takes like 10 minutes.
Oh,
it's
God.
fine.
We were all just like, oh God, no.
Yeah.
It
That's
was
amazing.
horrible. But it was like everyone logged back in, and our that little eyeball in the corner of the minimap was gone, and we were out our garrison. And we were like, no.
Wow.
And then, Lady Chai was like, I'm still in here. I'm like, can you invite me? No, BattleNet's down. And it came up for like 1 minute, and she's like, all right, here's an invite.
Go,
and I
go, go,
pop
go,
in,
go, go, go.
and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm on Mumble. Everyone's just like, oh, this sucks, man. I can't believe it. I'm like, guys.
Got it in.
Slash invite. And then it's like, oh, we finished it. It was good. Good times.
That's good. That's good.
Yes.
It's good. Did you get anything nice?
Got the crown. That's about it.
That's it.
Didn't get the mount.
That's nice.
You got
A
the
weapon
mount.
enchant?
Let's see, what was it? A pet and a cosmetic
There's
item
the
or something
pet,
like
the
that?
cosmetic enchant you could potentially get.
Yeah.
I know, I was thinking of farming that, and after the second run, I'm just like, nope.
Even
nope,
even
nope.
with the guild team that like we pounded through there, like no wipes, everything like that, was still a long instance.
Yep.
Yes,
So-
it was.
I'm waiting to maybe mid-December to start farming it for the enchant.
Right.
And everyone's
Because
over
When everyone's
people
over
will be
geared,
geared,
yeah.
exactly.
Good
That's
idea.
true. That wouldn't be too bad. So, all right, well, it's time to get caught up in the crazy whirlwind of WoW news in
Dizzying haze.
So, speaking of Molten Core, the 10th anniversary has started. We'll be going through, was it mid-January now? Early January? Something like that? Sometime in January.
That's right.
So you can do a Molten Core LFR. If you complete it in Down Ragnaros, you'll get 640 Helm. You also get a ton of lovely little lava cores and core leather if you're a Skinner, and yeah. You also will get a mount, so that's fun. But 640 Helm, that's going to help you get into normals and heroics, which is nice. They also implemented the 100v100, which I think they've nerfed down now. Is it 40v40 now?
I think they've nerfed down how many people. They also nerfed how many kills it takes, so it doesn't take 2 hours to do.
Right.
And it's not as miserable, so that you can lose and then have to do it again if you want your title.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
right,
sad.
I gotta look at that,
100v100 would be so much fun, but
Oh, it's so epic watching everyone lag out as everybody crashes.
that's true, I guess. I mean, the 40-man raid, it's like I go in there and I'm like, my computer has not chunked that hard in a while trying to render all that stuff. So I can't imagine 100v100. But anyways, mass combat. So if you were in vanilla or classic, however you want to say it, South Shore and Terran Mill. That was the PvP destination before Battlegrounds came in. I'm sure everyone has dabbled a little bit in Monk PvP, so let's go ahead and give some tips. My favorite thing to do is that new Flying Serpent Kick glyph, where when you pass through somebody, it will slow them down. So if you see a mass of people, you Flying Serpent Kick right through them. Pro tip, use Transcendence, you pop right back. So you just slow the entire group down, pop right back.
PvP is the only place
that.
Zen meditation's actually useful
Zen
outside
Med
of
is
the personal
awesome,
cool.
yeah.
You can do it in a 40-man environment. It's like Zen Med's up, Zen Med's down, because you just got like hit by 8,000 things going at once.
Right.
Because frost bolts everywhere. There you go.
All right. Any other tips for?
Yeah,
Mass combat?
don't be melee. There's your number one tip.
a very
Don't be
good
melee
tip,
in
yeah.
mass PvP, because you're just going to your death.
Just sit back, drop some chi waves, and just pray.
Just be a
Jade Lightning,
Mistweaver.
pretend you're a Sith.
Yeah.
Yeah! The whole time. That's all you're gonna do.
So the old idea of popping a bunch of clones out, rushing Jade, winding everything with Ring of Peace doesn't work anymore.
Ring of
'Cause
Peace
that was
is
fun.
still somewhat useful now with the change.
Right, it doesn't disarm everything.
No, it doesn't disarm. It just it prevents spell casting though, so it can be
Well,
there you
somewhat
go.
useful.
Can you cast Ring of Peace? Because you can cast it on other things. Can you cast it on a clone?
On your clone.
Fairly certain.
Something
Yeah,
to try.
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting. Just throw it on someone, cast a clone on there, and Ring of Peace it.
Yeah, have your Ring of Peace travel across the map.
That would be kind of hilarious. All right, well, let's go into some hot fixes that happened. Brewmaster LeBlue, you want to take that?
Oh man. So this is good. So first one, our baseline stagger has been increased from by 100%. So up from 20% to 30%. To put this in perspective, before this hotfix, if you didn't use shuffle at all, like you did not blackout kick for whatever reason, that's how much you have now, right? Compared to before hotfix having shuffle up. Now if you don't have your shuffle up after this hotfix, you have the equivalent amount of if you had shuffle up before a hotfix, which is completely ludicrous. Even more ludicrous, guard absorbs double of what it did previously. So we're talking like in CMs getting 300k guards. My paladin healer was like WTF mate, because I was almost out healing him. Completely,
That's great.
it's silly. Basically, and then the Glyph of Keg Smash now works. Hooray! Whatever.
Yeah.
So the implications for this, not going too in depth of it, this basically took our issue with low gear taking time to scale and said, we're going to bump you up to here now. So when we get gear, we're going to be entirely overpowered mitigation-wise. It's going to be wonderful. Get ready for that nerf bat.
Yeah.
It is going for the face. So, yeah. Enjoy it. It's gonna be fun, guys.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
speaking of overpowered, getting buffed even harder, for Mistweaver, Enveloping Mist now increased by an additional 50%. So that makes it hit like a truck, and yeah. So Mistweaver is even in a better place now than it was a couple weeks ago. So, all right, and going on to Windwalkers. Air?
Well, there were rumors here and there that Windwalkers might be a little, what you say, overpowered. I am not one to believe such lies. However, the devs did think that maybe we were slightly overtuned. So, our Rising Sun Kick, our debuff, normally it does a 20% increase to all of our fun abilities. That has been reduced to 15%. So on paper, you would say a 5% nerf. In reality, because of some great theory crafting from Hina Lover and others, I think they worked out to about 1% in Heroics, 3% in BIS about. So we're down a little bit, guys, but keep the faith. We'll come back.
That also affects Crane stance as well, because Rising Sun Kicks there. Get wrecked, nerds.
But we still have our 50% because no one ever chooses anything besides Path of Mist anyways, or Pool of Mist. So, all right, and Chi Explosion is now less quiet. Apparently it's allowed now.
I don't know who uses that skill. I don't.
I wouldn't know about that, sadly.
Yeah. So Tiger Palm, the interesting change happened here for Brewmasters, Windwalkers, and Mistweavers as well. So all three specs. Now, when you hit Tiger Palm, it will extend the duration up to 130% when refreshed. So that what that means practically is if you have 6 seconds or less of Tiger Palm, it will just add the 20 seconds onto it instead of refreshing. So you can go to 26 seconds if you have 6 seconds left. So less important to time it exactly right to maximize it. So it's happy. I would love if they did this to Serpent Zeal or Crane Zeal and some of the other Rising Sun Kick and stuff like that. That would be nice. Yeah. So hopefully that's coming. Speaking of coming soon. Glyph of Blackout Kick. It's coming back.
All right.
So apparently
what happened to that?
Celestalon got a little too antsy on his delete key. So
it's probably the Mistweaver QQ. Blame Mistweavers.
It got completely removed from the game, so they can't just hotfix it back in. They have to actually reload it. So that'll be coming probably on hopefully tomorrow. That's when they're doing another reset. So hopefully we'll get it back.
Yep.
All right. Any other hotfixes we mixed?
That was a pretty funny tweet to see a reply to.
Right.
Oh yeah, by the way, we removed it from the game. Oh.
Can I say a hotfix I'm waiting for to come in?
What's that?
Them hotfixing the fact that armor elixirs and mastery elixirs are the best tank elixirs.
Yeah.
By a large margin versus Warlords of Draenor flasks, ludicrous amounts. So expect that to be hotfixed. But until then, get farming, guys. There's herbs everywhere.
Yeah, at least it's a lot easier to get those herbs.
Because nobody's farming them.
And, yeah.
I've farmed several hundred of a couple different kinds of herbs getting ready for this. I'm ready.
Couple things.
Have you guys garrisons?
Have you guys looked at some of these things at that trading post? In I think Spires, you get a trading post, right? That's your outpost.
Yeah.
So you can buy some of these neat potions and neat things. Yeah, you can buy some of these neat things.
Smuggler thing? Where you
Smuggler, there we go. You can buy some of these neat things. You can use some of those items in dungeons, it looks like. Oh. Maybe even in challenge modes.
Oh.
Do you think they're going to change that for raiding?
Probably.
There's something out there, you get a Fey, you can make people bleed every 4 seconds.
I don't think those will be active in raids. I'd be very surprised. They usually catch things like that real quick.
Because I know they haven't caught them on challenge modes, because I had a running from a zone, and we ran a challenge mode, and it was still active.
I wouldn't use them if I were you.
I'm not advising this, I'm saying, I noticed this is a bad thing.
Just go ahead and put a ban thing across Air's thing right now.
Yeah, let's
go ahead and put that right there.
No. Let's. Hey guys, hotfix that so people aren't tempted. Okay.
Right there, you go.
Yeah, just saying. And especially in that race, some people are racing. I hear to world first.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Well, let's help some of these people that are trying to gear up for World First. They should have done this already, but let's give it a shot anyways. It's time to
First
impart some
December heroics.
Yeah, it's time to impart some tips and tricks in
Fist of Fury. It's go time.
Oh, I've missed that sounder. It's been way too long. So we're going to go over heroic dungeons today. So we're going to give just some general tips and then kind of some specific tips that are going to be used only by monks in specific encounters. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. So let's go to Air for Windwalker.
Okay. Windwalking. So let's see. Heroic dungeons, fun stuff. So if you're like me and you're afraid of Chi Explosion, Serenity is a great ability. It's great for on the pull DPS. You know, use it when you have 3 Chi. Pop out a Rising Sun kick, Blackout kick until it's almost finished. Finish with a Fist of Fury, and game on.
Mm-hmm.
If you're able to couple it with, you know, Tiger's Eye Brew, you know, Zunes,
Sorry.
running at the same time, it's pretty fun to see the big numbers come out. So.
And luckily, Threat is not at a place where I haven't noticed them turning around and beating me to death.
I've never seen that before, no.
Yeah, so Threat's in a good place at least.
So that's a real nice ability, and especially if you have any kind of burn phases on any kind of, like, you know, later on maybe phase 2 or phase 3 in some of these bosses where you have to get stuff down very quickly. It's really good to pop it then too if you're having trouble and wiping repeatedly, whatever reason.
For Serenity, are you guys waiting until, you know, these burn phases to pop that, or how I'm using it is when I've run out of Fist of Fury, I've run out of Energizing Brew, and I'm sitting there with no energy. That's when I pop it to kind of bring myself back up, so I'm having more and more globals filled. Which do you think is a better way to do that? Cricket.
Air.
Cricket. No, I mean,
Yeah, Monkioh? What do you think?
Please.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you want to spread out. You're talking about, like, just managing your energy usage, right?
Right, so do you use Serenity as an energy regen buff, or do you use it as a burn?
You know, obviously you want to save it if there's a burn phase. In the heroic dungeons, there really isn't those kind of burn phase.
Right.
Maybe I could think of 1 or 2 examples, but yeah, you just want to use it when your cooldowns and your trinkets are up. You know, it's the best time to use it. Energizing Brew, obviously you want to save for when you're low on energy. Same with Fist of Fury, but you want to use Fist of Fury, you know, on cooldown, but do try to line it up to the point where you can use that time to regen energy.
Right.
But it's higher priority to just use it as often as possible. You don't want to wait 10 seconds to use Fist of Fury just because you were, you know, high on energy.
Right. Yeah, Fist of Fury hits too much like a truck to let that go.
Yeah.
Okay, and so for those who don't use Serenity, you want to go over Chi Explosion?
I think, Monkioh, you play around with Chi Explosion a bit more than I do.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, you know, it does amazing AoE damage. It can be kind of difficult to use if you also take Rushing Jade Wind and you choose to use that over Jab, since you generate, you know, 1 less Chi per, I guess, attack.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really good damage. You know, you definitely notice the difference if you don't use Chi Explosion versus the way that you do. Saving up energy, using your Tiger Eye Brews, you can really do some crazy burst damage on trash, and it's probably, you know, your go-to talent for challenge modes because you need to burn through trash so quickly. I would
Right.
definitely go with that as your default choice.
Mm-hmm. And if you are playing with a bit of a slower play style compared to using
Right.
Serenity then too, because you are obviously changing your stat weights, or not that, but your gear hopefully will have a bit higher haste to make Chi Explosion work. So it's not that Street Fighter-esque hit all the buttons you possibly can, you know, monk style that we've been used to. It's a different kind of way to train your brain.
Right. Yeah, it's a whole nother ball game when you start using Chi Explosion. It's
Right,
different
and
weights, everything like that.
It even changes, and depending on whether you're single target or AoE. You know, obviously in AoE you definitely want to use 4 Chi on AoE, but in single
Right.
target, you know, 3 is just fine. Like 3 is maybe considered optimal.
Right. Which is hard to
but
get to sometimes.
It is, yeah, considering it uses all the Chi, but it's you know, it's nice to have that thought, you know, that extra decision to make sure you can get the most out of it.
Right. And
Okay.
don't forget the wonderful Windwalker tip. Storm, Earth, and Fire is your friend. Send it out everywhere, especially on those
That is
council
the best
fights.
tip.
Right.
No, Storm of the Fire is too good to not use. Like, if you think it's just difficult to use or awkward, you're missing out on a lot of damage. You have to use it in order to do the most with your class.
And it looks cool.
Ridiculous.
That's why I
Yes.
would use it. It
Looks
just
awesome.
looks cool.
It's still fun to use with Russian Jade Wind, especially in the small rooms on Grimrail, and you just can't see anything but green. It's fantastic.
I mean, green and red fire as the gunners just shoot shrapnel in your face.
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
that.
Okay, well, I'm going to go over some Mistweaver tips as well. So, Zhuan is actually a great healing tool. You can use him kind of as a cooldown on tough trash pulls or on boss fights with ads, because he's going to do a lot of Eminence healing, which is good. Just be sure to place your statue somewhere where Eminence is going to be useful, probably right next to your tank. Crane stance on bosses with low damage. So, Touch of Death does Eminence. And so, you can even put Fortifying Brew on there if you really want to be ballsy with it. And that's basically a
That
lay on.
cheese.
Yeah, that is monk lay on hands right there.
That cheese.
Yep. And make sure to take power strikes. That maximizes your chi generation. Chi brew is more useful for control, but I've noticed especially in dungeons right now, you're just going to want as much chi as possible. So just take your power strikes. It's going to pop up a lot more chi over time. So stick with that. All right, let's go over some specific tips.
What brewmasters? You don't like
Oh, well,
brewmasters?
brewmaster, I guess we can do
I have a few things, I guess, if you want
Alright.
to go over 'em.
All right.
So brewmasters, your statue is an amazing off tank. I've named mine Dave. If things get hectic, put Dave out and he can tank things for you. It's actually very durable. You just have to be careful you don't accidentally pull, oh, I don't know, 3 packs in a single car in a train, or like all little flowers. Don't be afraid to kite. We're still really good at it. Use Dizzying Haze to kite if you have to. Chi Explosion versus Serenity. Soul Dance if there's high magic damage, obviously. But these are the two big ones. If you want tankiness, you take Serenity and you purify everything, basically. It's wonderful. It's absolutely amazing because you're going to have like 60 seconds of shuffle if you do it right. If you're willing to give up the damage reduction and you're pushing more damage, more speaking towards CM gold runs and really pushing for time, you're going to take Chi Explosion with the caveat that you will take a lot more damage. And this is because your purifiers are on a fixed timer, and you shouldn't be purifying before that, or else you're basically just losing the benefit of having Chi Explosion. So just kind of keep that in mind. General Brewmaster Tips 101.
Okay.
Done.
All right. Awesome. Well, let's go into each specific dungeon and see if there's any tips we can give. Blood Maul Slag Mines. I just actually ran this on Heroic about an hour ago for the first time, so let me think if there's anything missed. Do you guys have anything for the Blood Maul?
I got it. Pick me.
Go for it. Go for it, LeBlue.
Okay, so the slave guy boss, just drop your statue on top of him, and the slaves always go to it. No management needed. Did this on my paladin? Way more annoying. Had to actually worry about the ads. Drop Dave. Call it a day. So, second, the magma boss dude, the ogre who's like sitting there just channeling, like, yeah, I got rocks and fire. Yeah, you can touch a death one of those ads with Fortifying Brew. Makes that really easy. Recommend the fire one. Third boss, pretty easy. Just don't get hit by stuff. Fourth boss, you can touch a death one of those ads that he makes that goes and walks towards the furnaces. There you go. Brewmaster tips.
Okay. Mistweaver tip on that final boss. Revival is your friend. Just ignore the debuffs for a little while, and once they get to like 4 or 5 stacks, just boom, revival. You get a nice little reset. So there's a tip for you.
And then the first boss, like you said, with the statue, same thing with Zwen. If you're healing, if they don't manage to kill the ads, it can do a lot of damage to your tank. And Zwen does a lot of healing with all those ads stacked up, so that's a good tip. For the bridge boss, if you're having trouble healing that, since you can't really heal on the move as well as some other classes, spread out your cooldowns. Zwen the first one, Revival the second one, and hope you don't get a third. But it's usually not too bad.
Right.
Use roll to your advantage there.
Yeah. And make sure not to roll off the bridge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got close once.
Yeah.
Our other monk did that once, so it was
Yeah.
really fun.
Don't. Yeah. One thing I've learned is that extra distance roll glyph, not a good idea ever.
You're not used to
Yeah.
it. It's like-
Don't listen to him. It's the best idea ever. Always do it, ever.
There are so many encounters in these dungeons where there are things you can fall off. And so this just don't use that glyph until we start getting into raids.
Or you know exactly how far you are in every instance. You have that zen kind of focus, and you're not rolling off platforms and stuff.
Yeah, just don't do it.
I like rolling.
No.
Right.
Especially lag rolling. Where you lag,
Lag rolling
roll
is
to the
great.
end of the world.
All right, let's move on to Shadow Moon Burial Grounds. So that boss, I think it's the second boss where you have that spirit phase.
Yep.
Crane stance. If you're mistweaving, just go into crane stance. You can beat the crap out of that spirit in like 3 hits, and you're out before anybody else. So that's good. On the worm boss, Zen Med, you can just sit on those little grasping hands that did damage to you. So you can just go right on there when the inhale hits, and just hit Zen Med and just completely ignore it. So
First boss going along with the second boss, Touch of Death works really well. You can do it for every other ad that she summons to empower herself. As a brewmaster, I've found that I just tell my group, hey, ignore them, and with a little bit of damage, like a keg smash and a few tiger palms, maybe a blackout kick, it's in Touch of Death range. And every other one, that just allows you to put so much more DPS on the boss. The third boss, let's see, where was it? Yeah, second boss, you can do the same thing. You can Touch of Death your ad or keg smash it, and it falls over. Keep in mind that your Chi Wave does extra damage to that ad because it takes extra damage from nature and holy damage sources to help healers.
Yep.
Little fun fact there for you.
that's useful.
Ner'zhul, once again, Touch of Death, showing how fair and balanced. Pick one and done. D-U-N. Also makes the achievement incredibly easy because your whole group could be burning one down. You're like, oh, you guys about to kill it? Okay, done, guys. And there you go, easy achievement. I did it when I was bored in a random heroic. So there you go.
Very nice. Okay, any other tips for Shadow Moon?
That's pretty much it.
All right, going on to Upper Blackrock Spire. So, the first boss, when you have to go down and help disable the traps, Transcendence is your best friend here. Just put it right up on the platform, disable a trap. You can even get a second one probably, and pop right back up and get right back in the action.
Yeah, and if you are going to get hit, diffuse magic is wonderful. Like, you're going to take a lot of
Very
damage.
nice.
Try not to get hit, Roll, Tiger's Lust, you got so many options to not get hit, but if you are going to get hit, Touch Karma or diffuse magic or lifesavers.
Or moving Zen Med if you have to lift for it as well.
Yeah, very good.
Definite.
Fire Bridge boss. I hate that one so much.
I love Fire Ridge boss. So, I'm going to make them poke together. Bosses 3, 4, and 5. Dave, best friend ever. Because in the third boss, you have the streaming ads. Dave. The fourth boss, you have streaming ads. Dave. And then Zayla, she drops 3 ads. Dave. Bam. And you can Touch of Death one
And
of those
people
ads
were
in Zayla's fight.
complaining about that change to the statue. That's like the best thing ever, isn't it?
They made sure it was the best thing ever in Heroics. Let me tell you, oh man, that statue is the greatest thing ever. I hear people, oh, it doesn't give guard anymore. It's new. And I'm just like, but it's a third tank. It's your off tank of an off tank. Yeah.
Speaking of that Fire Bridge, though, as Monkioh said, Touch of Death and Diffuse. That will help you survive that insane amount of fire damage going out. And make sure to have your Renewing Mist on everyone before the first boss does his AoE, and everyone splits up trying to disarm the conduits, uplift, and hope they don't stand in it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Don't stand in the bad. That's
Because it can be
great advice.
difficult, you don't exactly know where they're at, you're trying to run to this side to soothe Surge, and you run to this side to soothe Surge, but they've already moved to the other side, so you just either revival or you drop Zwen, uplift spam, and hope it heals them, and
Right.
it's...
I stand in bad to get my healer's healing ranks in Heroic Dungeons.
All right, let's move on to Grimrail Depot. I love this instance so much.
I enjoy it too. I
Praise.
have a lot of fun.
All right, so first boss. Any tips on this one?
Nothing crazy.
Storm, Earth,
I
and
mean,
Fire.
Yeah, Storm, Earth, and Fire.
Yeah.
Go team.
2 adds up. Yeah, definitely do that.
Let me do second
you're-
boss.
If you're
The trouble
healing
with-
on the first boss, save Crane and Zwen for when he gets knocked down.
Right.
There's a...
The thing
has
with
a damage
Storm
buff.
Fire, though,
Yeah.
is if you're following the small guy, you're losing DPS as it's running back and forth.
Yeah, you stay on the big guy the whole time.
And if you stay, but if you stay in the big guy, then the ad or your clone is running back and forth, not hitting anything. If you stay on the small guy, your ad's hitting everything, but then you're not hitting anything. So is it really that much of a benefit to use Storm, Earth, and Fire on that, unless they're both on the ground next to each other?
One thing you could probably do with that to solve the problem is when you see him jump, just call it back and resend it out, and it'll do that kind of dash over to it.
Yeah. That works.
Okay, let's see. Second boss, Lilu?
Nitro.
Spoiler alert, Dave. He tanks them. You can literally have him tank all the ads while you watch your pug group, ignore the mechanics, not pick up the rockets, pick up the rocket yourself, jump in a turret, fire the turret, get back out, see Dave is almost dead, pick up the ads, drop new Dave. I'm not kidding. I'm not making this up. This is legit. Best statue ever.
Right. Okay. Go ahead, Eric.
Windwalkers have a kind of a neat ability with this, and I saw this used in a challenge mode run. We use this for our challenge mode run too. Is if you keep a melee on the turret, so it's phase 2. You know, your DPS a turret, you don't do a lot of damage, but you are able to get some in, and by keeping a melee on the turret, that big old fire AoE thing he does on the ground, that doesn't leave the gun area. So all of your teammates don't have to worry about jumping out of the fire at any point anymore. You do, however, so that if you're looking at the boss, you got 2 pillars. Put your transcendence behind the pillar. You don't have to worry about line of sight.
Yeah.
As soon as he's about to fire the fire, pop your transcendence back behind the pillar. You're safe. Also, if you happen to get suppressing fire, do the same thing. Go behind that pillar, and that is actually a safe zone. So you can have your range, who get it, hide in that same pillar area. Tanks and your other 3 DPS, worry about the ads, do their thing. What's really nice about this is that if you're doing enough DPS, you only have to hit them with 3 of the missiles versus 4. Also, Touch of Death does work on the missile launcher, the turret. So you get down near there and you pop out a 250k hit instantly, and it drastically shortens the fight.
Very nice.
So. And if he's busy doing suppressing fire and his fire, you can go help AoE the ads. Just keep running that, and it really makes it a lot quicker.
Okay.
Fun fight, Windwalkers.
A general tip for that fight too is if you have 2 people get the shrapnel from the gunner ads, and they get in the 2 cannons on the side, you can literally pull the boss in between the 2, and then just light him up, and he's dead. Like it's like 1, 2, 3, done.
Nice. All right, and the final boss, I will say, don't use that roll glyph. Be very, very careful with the roll here.
If it sends you flying in one direction, you freaking use that button. Use that button on cooldown, because you'll go places, baby. We're going places.
Going off the side of a train. All right, moving on to Skyreach. The first boss with the wind blades that go around, diffuse magic, just lets you walk right through those. Don't care about those at all. So the fuse magic is going to be your best friend here. Also, I guess Zen meditation to go through there. The second boss, also diffuse magic and Zen meditation. You can take a beam if your healer's struggling. And Air, I think, you had another tip with this.
Let's see. No, that wasn't my tip.
Oh, that must be Monkioh.
Skyreach.
Where's the blue?
Don't look at me. I don't do anything useful.
Touch of Karma on this beam on the second boss for what? Mega damage. There we go. All right. Transcendence gets you back into the fight quickly during the last boss after getting picked up by a bird, which is nice. And you can, let's say, I think this one is Monkioh.
Yeah. It's basically you can safely do crane in this boss. Some bosses, most bosses, like it's up in the air whether or not you can crane stance or not. Like it's highly dependent on your tank.
Your tank is, yeah.
Right, being able to use active mitigation. But this boss does such little damage, and there's such little raid damage going out or group damage. You can almost always crane on this boss and do pretty good damage. Yeah. And it helps with the ads.
Yeah. You can also on the last boss, Touch of Death, every other ad again, because Touch of Death breaks the game at this point. And then the third boss for Brewmasters, if you have to use either Elusive Brew or Guard to dodge, or not really dodge, but not take the armor debuff. So your primary should always be Elusive Brew, but if if your RNG just hates your guts or you accidentally hit it, always keep a guard charge ready so that you can pop that instead. Because it does hit hard, and the armor debuff hurts as it gets higher. So, no Dave this time, team.
No,
Sorry.
Dave.
Well,
I
Dave,
failed
what are
you.
you doing, Dave?
Pulling the
No,
entire
Dave.
instance at once. Don't do it. It's bad news bears.
All right, moving on to Akandun.
This is such a pretty dungeon.
Yes.
Such a cool
It's
place.
too bad
If
for
only
half
I was a
and I
Draenei
hate
still.
it.
It's half
If only I
RP.
was a
It's
Draenei still.
awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
Pretty awesome.
I like this one.
My only tip for that is, my biggest tip is the imps can be really dangerous. As a monk, you have a lot of options to interrupt them. You paralyze interrupts, just doesn't interrupt, but it resets the cast. You can stun them all. You can interrupt with a spearhand strike.
Lift
But you
breath
can
of
also
fire.
just instant kill them with touch of death. Like just walk up to one, touch of death, done with it. So you have a lot of
That's good.
options to save your group. It's pretty nice. And if you're a Windwalker, you can Zen Med. Do Brewmasters have Zen Med?
Yep.
Yeah,
Still?
yeah, they do.
Yeah,
Typically
Mistweaver's the only one
Mistweavers.
that's missing it now. Which is
Why
Yeah.
did they do that?
Get
I
wrecked,
don't
nerd.
Yeah, you think that the cooldown, it's kind of a healing cooldown that saves other people. You don't give that to the healers.
You would think.
Yeah.
They give you life cocoon though.
Yay!
Yay.
You guys notice? No, we mentioned Spearhand Strike. It's the first time we mentioned by name. Did it get a sound change for Warlords?
I have no idea. Is it
Not
too
that-
quiet? They can change that too.
No, it's just louder, and I'm hearing like a little like squishy sound when you hear it, like oh.
My
You want it
Spotify
happen.
must be too loud when I
Haven't
play
noticed.
then.
It's,
Okay.
is it kind
See
of
if anyone
like the
else knows that.
scorpion thing? Get over here type thing.
No, that'd be nice though.
All right, moving on to Everbloom. On the last boss, Tiger's Lust is your friend. It's very useful for squishing the blossoms. Also, make liberal use of Transcendence to cover more ground. Keeping these ads away is top priority. Also, hop into Crane Stance during the Orbs phase of Witherbark. Since you're not really expected to be doing DPS, you can do a lot of DPS as your party handles the orbs, and you can get your party healed back up to full without doing some good damage to the boss at the same time.
Yep, and again, Zwen on the Ancient Protectors. Anytime Zwen can cleave, he's an amazing cooldown to use in a dungeon.
You can touch of death, the water orb thingies on the first boss.
Nice.
You
The
can.
water orbs are slowable, yeah.
They are slowable. You can actually throw beer at them if you're ignoring them,
Okay.
just to
so
slow
then
them down.
disable would work then as well too, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot Windwalkers still have that little
Yeah,
thing.
disable
Yeah.
is quite handy for a lot of these places with ads. We didn't mention it
Especially
during
ads
with the
that make-
Shadow Moon.
Yeah.
There is
Burial
there is
grounds when they
one.
Burial grounds, yeah, sorry.
There are two parts of this entire instance where I'm going to say use Dave. The rest of it, don't use Dave, or else you will have a very angry forest chasing you
Yes.
down. Personal experience here. Dave is not your friend most of this instance. The two instances are the spider boss. You want to drop it, and it'll basically, outside of the bursters, they'll just go straight for it. So you can kind of coalesce the pools together so they take up less area. Same with the stupid pale orc guys. They'll just go hauling towards Dave to say hello. The second one is the final boss, the Genosaur. Drop it right under a fire thing, and all the ads magically go to it and get blown up by fire.
Yep.
Yay, Dave. Unless it's the
Go
rest of the
Dave.
instance, then boo Dave.
Right. All right.
MVP tier 17, Dave.
Yep. Moving on to the last one. I have not done this instance before, so I will toss it to the rest of you guys. Iron Docks.
Bleh.
Now let's take a look at it.
Iron
It's
Box. Yay.
a lot of trash.
It's a good one.
A lot of ways you can use Stormwrath and Fire, which is nice. It wasn't too memorable. I've only done it the one time actually, and
There's
through
nothing
random-
crazy about it. I mean, honestly, the only couple things I can think of are the last boss is our monk mobility makes it amazing for getting back very rapidly because you have to get in melee range of the Gron so he stops shooting. I would assume a Windwalker with Fortifying Brew and Touch of Karma could literally at the start Flying Serpent Kick and get in melee range of him instantly.
Yeah, I think pretty safely do that.
Yeah, I mean, Transcendence help you get back even quicker. There's that instance is actually like I'm sitting here thinking about it, and there's nothing crazy about it really.
It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
Because I mean, even where you think, oh, Dave for the third boss, the Saberon, those wolves that he spawns out, they randomly fixate on people anyway. So
No, Dave doesn't.
Dave,
Do much.
Ah!
Yeah, if you're in melee range, you gotta spawn the wolves. It's good to throw out a leg sweep so you can just AoE down before they split up.
Yeah.
That's probably the best tip for that boss.
Yeah.
There's only one. I would go off and say not a boss tip, but a trash tip. During that gauntlet before the second boss, I think it is.
Yeah.
There's
Where you're
where he
getting
throws the
bombarded.
bombs at you. Yeah, these Ogrons can do a lot of damage to your tank. Before they do that, they do this like AoE on your group, and then immediately following that, they do this like flurry move on your tank, and it does a lot of damage. Just be sure if you're healing, you save your chi for the tank healing, and just recover the group later because the group is not in serious damage.
Right.
I've seen a few groups probably not do that so well. So
Right, they freak out because it's like, oh,
Yeah,
the group
yeah, yeah.
needs healing and the tank goes down. All right. Well, I think now as students it's time to meditate and expand our knowledge in.
Transcendence.
So, I'm surrounded on both sides and over on this other side by 3 wonderfully mythically monks. So I want to have a nice discussion about Mythic, because there has been a lot of discussion in and out of the beta about viability of monks of all specs. Seems to have lessened now that we're overpowered like crazy, but I still want to discuss it a little bit. So let's talk first about Mistweaver. So early on in the beta and even getting close to even now, there's been a lot of discussion about the viability of Mistweavers in Mythic. This outcry definitely is lessened with the final balancing patch, but there is still some trepidation about lack of utility. Now, since they fixed Revival and it heals everybody and their mother, it seems...
It also resurrects people from previous expansions. Lei Shen's back, everyone.
summon zombies.
Yeah.
Lei Shen's back. Get ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
Thunder Throne 2.0.
Right. So there still is some discussion about lack of utility. How is Mistweaver in Mythic? Are we going to see more of them coming back in these Race for World First guilds?
Yes, you will. They're one of the strongest, depending on the fight, if not the strongest healers right now. Utility, it's hard to describe what people think is utility. People think utility is like tank cooldowns or raid cooldowns. I don't consider that really to be healer utility anymore. Like those are just kind of things you have as a healer. It's just more healing you can do more efficiently, more quickly. I don't really consider that utility. I consider utility things like Stampeding Roar or the ability to do damage like Crane Stance or Heart of the Wild or Old Atonement, more or less. Bop, those kind of things. Those are great utility tools. And Mistweavers have Crane Stance. And it's not a typical utility tool, but it is very strong. You're able to get a ton of Manatee stacks in the middle before a fight really even gets going. It allows you to heal more. You can do a good amount of damage on any burst phase in a fight. Yeah, they're definitely really strong. They don't lack utility. They do lack a tank cooldown that's really good. Life Cocoon is just not.
Right.
It's not there. But Revival is really good.
Do you think Life Cocoon is going to get better as we get better gear? Is it going to scale any at all?
It won't be as. It will never be as good as the other healer cooldowns. It just won't be. I mean, unless it depends on the mechanics. Like I think in Black Art Foundry, Orgorger, he has an ability that does more damage, or excuse me, does less damage the more you absorb on the tank. Like it does damage to the tank, and if you absorb it, he does less damage to the raid. So that's a time where Life Cocoon's gonna be like, oh my god, that's really good for that. But outside of that, you're better off with Iron Bark or Pain Suppression or whatever else, Sack.
Mm-hmm.
It's never gonna be as good. It's just straight damage.
Okay. All right. Well, is there anything that you think Blizzard needs to do to make Mistweavers a little more viable, or are they just in a really good spot right now?
No, I think they're plenty viable. They're plenty strong. The one biggest change I would make is, and it's a huge change that they're not going to do most probably, is to actually remove Manatee and just rebalance the mana cost to be similar to other healers.
Mm-hmm.
Manatee's overpowered. It is. It shouldn't be in the game. They removed Innervate. They removed Divine Plea. They removed all the the mana regeneration tools, and Manatee just stayed for some reason. And they bumped up the mana cost to compensate. And it's fair if you look at it in a very short time frame, but if you give the monk enough time to generate the Manatee stacks at the beginning of a fight, which they almost always can do, it's completely unbalanced. Like it should not be in the game. So I'd say they're more than viable, very strong, could use a nerf in the mana regen department.
So, LeBlue, you gonna start looking for Mistweavers for your team? Ever?
We have been actually. The last one we haven't. I mean, they've literally buffed the throughput to absurd levels, and I basically agree with everything Monkioh says. The only dislike about them is the fact that their tank cooldown is outside of situations like Org Orchard. It's really weak. The healing portion of it doesn't stick with when the shield's gone. Everybody hates mastery. Nothing new there, and I guess like the manatee bothers me, and another reason it bothers me is because it's just eats a bunch of time. It just eats time, and
Yeah, you're
that's
saying
kind
they're,
of
like,
annoying.
not doing anything for a while.
And I mean, like that was fine when we had like the 1 second GCD because it made sense. It kind of balanced it out. But now we have a 1.5 second GCD, and we have a channel that isn't affected by haste because we love downtime. I heard you like downtime.
Yeah.
I had that discussion on this topic not too long ago where we were talking about challenge modes and how strong or weak Manatee is in a challenge mode. And if you find during a fight that you have time to channel Manatee, it's super strong. But if the fight requires you to do constant high healing, the monk's high mana costs really play against you because you're going so much quicker than the other healers. And if you don't have time to channel the Manatee, you're going to be really quickly and not be able to recover. Whereas other healers just have the spirit passively do it for them.
Right.
So it's really, I wish they would just get rid of it and just rebalance the costs.
It had a purpose in MOP. That purpose is gone. It
Right.
needs to go.
All right. Well, so Brewmasters are kind of the newest class to be disparaged. They were like super strong all the way through beta. Everyone is like, "Oh yeah, definitely bring Brewmasters." And indeed, I think LeBlue, you had the Windwalker's utility as Brewmaster.
Yeah. that was for like Mist of Pandaria, like through Tot. Well, less Tot because Windwalkers with the Rut Row did so much damage, but for like Siege in 25 man, that was your utility. Right. Oh yeah, we bring this Windwalker so that he can go Brewmaster for Garrosh. I mean,
so right now they seem to be getting overlooked in favor of Paladins and Warriors in this initial push, mainly due to it's scaling, but it's also the difference in the healing model. A lot of these Brewmasters are so used to just hitting Expel Harm and being fully healed, not having to purify, and it's completely different. You have to rely on healers, you have to play differently. And I think, personally, that Brewmasters are incredibly powerful right now if you know how to play it and you're playing it right. But I think that's a lot of problem is that the Brewmasters who were awesome in 5.4 are not doing very well right now. And so what do you guys think about that?
So, with the new healing and tank squish model, obviously all tanks became a lot more reliant upon their healers, and then in addition to this, we also had the health pools of everybody effectively doubled. And this created a few things. One is, like you said, we were very used to an Expel Harm crit topping us off, effectively a lay on hands. No longer the case, obviously.
Yeah.
Guard used to be as big as our health pool or bigger on most boss fights. Kind of not the case anymore. Before the recent buff wasn't the case. With the buff, you can sometimes hit about your health at high resolve. So obviously we can't guard for nearly as much anymore. And then the change to health made our stagger values a little wonky for some people, and some people haven't quite caught on just yet. So in Mist of Pandaria, we were very used to clearing at yellow or red, mostly red. Nowadays, those are roughly equivalent to high greens. So a lot of people see them as weak because they're taking a lot of extra stagger damage because they're waiting too long. But with the recent buffs, there's a lot less issues with that. If some of you may have listened to the Monkcraft podcast I did with Rignaros, the big concern with Monk tanks versus our block counterparts, specifically Warriors and Paladins, is they do better with less gear than non-block tanks do. They simply are stronger with less because of how block works as a mechanic. With this recent buff, however, we've effectively scaled the first part of that gear hump because of how Mastery works. Mastery in Siege of Orgrimmar effectively made Brewmasters godly at taking anything physical damage because of how strong it was. And it's not like a block where a block is still a chance outside of a cooldown. It is always on 100%. We will always have mastery affecting things. And so as we get more and more of it, it's very strong. The reason you didn't see a lot of people stacking progression was because, well, vengeance.
Right.
To be quite honest,
Right.
more damage.
More crit.
You get enough to survive, and then you just go flat crit. Well, now that Mastery has that attack power thing, Mastery is just king. Everyone's going to stack it, and we're going to get the secondaries to where it's going to become ludicrous. So while right now I wouldn't be surprised to see Blood Legion, Method, and Paragon running Warrior Paladin, because Warriors are still overpowered. Their damage got nerfed a little bit. That's but tank-wise, they're still really freaking strong. They've been overpowered since beta, and they've stayed overpowered. They haven't really changed in that aspect. Paladins are also really freaking good. In addition to that, they bring a lot of extra utility, like lay on hands. They put their hands on everybody. There's a bunch of really good things that a Paladin tank could do that other tanks simply cannot. And again, they're both really solid tanks. They're both block tanks, and they're going to do relatively well with a lot less gear. But I would not be surprised to see if a guild pulls a Brewmaster in, because they're not nearly as far behind as they were now. I don't expect to see bears and DKs, though.
Are there any fights or encounters where Dave is going to come in useful? Where they're going to pull in a Brewmaster?
Pull in a Brewmaster specifically, I could see Korag for the nullification zones. You can literally just throw Dave in the middle of nullification zone, and the adds that spawn will go right to him, and you can kill them fairly safely. Because it's really annoying to try to position them in there and keep them in there. But if they're already in there, it's a little bit easier. I could see that being an encounter where they'd want it. I haven't looked at Blackrock Foundry in a minute, so I couldn't tell you too much from there, to be quite honest. But I could see him being decent on Butcher because of how Stagger works on all physical damage. That includes bleeds, whereas you can't block a bleed, but you can stagger a bleed. So I could see that. We'll honestly kind of have to see what happens there. We'll see definitely with the World First. They're more willing, obviously, to switch out tanks fight per fight than, say, my guild, where, well, I'm a Brewmaster and he's a Warrior, and that's it. We're not switching.
Yeah, so Monkioh, is Midwinter, how many of the tanks have Brewmaster alts that are like primary alts?
Both of our tanks have all 5 tanks leveled and geared, ready to go. The same with all our healers. We have all 5 healers leveled up, ready to go. DPS, I'll have 5 of some DPS ready to go, but I think we're leaning towards, like he said, Paladin Warrior for our tanks. Just, yeah, they work the best.
Okay, so is there anything they can do to bring Brewmaster to the point where they would bring in Brewmasters instead, or is it just going to be scaling as we get to the next tier?
They already did it.
Right.
Yeah, I think they're workable right now. Like, it's plenty useful. Like, they can do fine in any raid. I think just the other tanks are just that much, just a tiny bit better. Yeah, enough to make.
Come tier 18, do you think that's going to switch?
Couldn't say.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think we need to wait to see when the nerf bat happens, because it's going to happen. That nerf bat is coming, and I'm not making any guesses on how strong or weak Brewmasters will be until I see that nerf bat.
Well, we haven't heard from Air for a little while, so let's move on to Windwalkers.
Okay.
So
it's probably better for you guys to not hear from me. Because
Windwalkers have been kind of a roller coaster throughout beta. It's at first they were really powerful, then they're weak, and then they're powerful, and then they're weak, and right now they seem to have found a niche with that movement speed. Like, there's always a token Windwalker in every raid team for that movement speed buff. Yeah. But also it seems like we are Cleave Kings now. There's no one that can keep up with us with our Storm, Earth, and Fire. Did they do enough, I'm wondering, to neuter this cooldown arms race? Because they still didn't give us a cooldown.
No.
So did they do enough to neuter that?
Well, looking at the incoming fights, there's a lot of on-the-ground movement coming up in High Mall that we really have to be careful for, which is going to really affect melee. So I think that 10% movement speed buff it's going to be noticed. People are complaining that they can feel a 10% difference in their mount speed traveling, while you're probably going to feel a 10% speed difference while raiding. Hopefully, these same people who are complaining. So, it definitely helps a bit. And the fact that we are strong, we have more than decent single target. We have amazing cleave. So they talked about nerfing the arms race enough, or maybe just make monks, bring up our damage. We've always been talking about we don't have a cooldown, bring up our damage. We don't have a cooldown, bring up our damage. It's kind of what we got in the end of the thing.
They gave us the utility of that movement speed, but it's not a stackable thing. That's one of the biggest problems is that rogues still have a stackable cooldown, and other melees have stackable cooldowns, whereas we don't. It's like you have one Windwalker. That's all you need to get that utility. So, and that was something I asked Celestalon, and Celestalon said, "Yeah, it's a problem that it's not really stackable, but we don't really see more than one Windwalker in teams at a time." I'm like, well, that's kind of a recursive argument, isn't it? It's like you don't. Okay. So Monkey, yeah, I know you ran Windwalker in the speed run at BlizzCon. Right. How is it feeling for you? Do you think they did enough?
Well, yeah. So you asked that. You're talking about removing big cooldowns from classes like rogues or warriors with banner and stuff like that, right?
Right.
That's what you're referring to. Yeah, I think they did enough, and I was watching it as they were kind of talking about that before beta even came out, wondering if Windwalker is going to be any good, considering all these classes are losing all these cooldowns. And it turned out, yeah, they're really good. And they're not really... I think we aren't looking at Windwalkers as, oh, they have the movement speed buff, we need to have at least one. We're looking at it as Windwalkers do really, really good cleave and AoE damage. We should have at least one, if not two, in some of these fights. Like,
right.
They're really good for that. And that's why they're being brought. They're being brought for their sheer power on those cleave fights and for those AoE
especially
situations.
like the council fights. I noticed you had Chichon bust out Windwalker on that fight because of the Storm, Earth, and Fire bonus.
Yeah, I mean, some fights, yeah, if we don't need a healer, the monks are really good DPS, and it's easy to switch. And
same stat weights. That's the most beautiful thing. Love that. Okay.
So it's definitely a good choice.
All right, so Windwalker. So from what I'm hearing, we're in a good place. Like every spec is in a really good place.
Yeah, I would argue that monks are one of the best classes overall in the game right now. Like you're gonna do fine on any spec.
Yeah. Beware the nerf bat. It's coming.
We hope not. We hope not.
I mean,
go ahead.
In the expansion where we came out, we were when Mistweavers had their roller coaster, Brewmasters had a roller coaster, Windwalkers had 1,000 different masteries.
Each tier.
It's kind of nice, It's nice to have stuck with the class and to feel like, hey, you know what? We kind of have a direction. We have this path we're on. It feels good.
I'm kind of surprised. It feels like we're the hero class we were meant to be right now.
That's I don't want to say too much, but it kind of feels like, yeah, we feel like the new class that everyone wants to be. Everyone's like, hey, that guy's a monk. We should bring him.
Right.
And that's a good feeling. And you see people who are playing monk right now, people in guild chat, people in other places, talking about, I play this class, I tried a monk, it is fun. And on top of now being fun is we bring a little bit extra in some classes utility, but we bring a lot extra in output for healing, output for tank, input ability.
Just say best TMI. We have the best TMI of any tank. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. The best TMI for tanking and really great, DPS output for Windwalker. So I think in general, Monkioh, you're totally right. Everything is good to go for monks. It's a good class to be right now.
So speaking of which, we have seen a lot of buffs hit all the specs recently.
Too good.
All three specs now appear to be a little overpowered.
Sorry,
precisely where intended. Monks are working as intended right now.
If and when do you expect the nerf bat to hit us, and how hard?
6.2.
Really?
Next raid tier?
If not, the earliest 6.1, latest 6.2. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
It seems to depend on what it is and the actual level of overpoweredness there is. I don't feel like any of them are so overpowered that they would need a nerf mid-tier, you know?
No, yeah,
Wait,
no mid-tier. I think they're going into a moratorium starting tomorrow, or at least next week. They're going into a moratorium until Blackhand is dead. But then after that, I could see them definitely coming in and swinging the nerf badass a little bit. I especially expect to see it on Brewmasters because of how they scale.
Yeah, at some point.
The more mastery they get,
over. It's freaking over. I'm waiting for it.
yeah.
I know. I'm waiting for Twitter to blow up. Oh my gosh, they're nerfing Brewmasters.
But
and I'm like,
it's just
yeah,
going to bring them back into line. The buffs right now
I said that 4 months ago. Chill out, guys.
The buffs right now are designed to make it so the first tier isn't as painful as it was in Tier 14. Tier 14 Brewmaster was painful because we didn't have the gear. And so they made it so Tier 17 is not going to be as painful anymore. But in Tier 18, we're going to see either the red numbers make a return, or they will take the nerf bat to us, and I expect the nerf bat. Mistweaver and Windwalker, I don't see a nerf bat coming right away. We don't scale nearly as well as Brewmaster does.
Yeah, I could see like maybe a mana change for Mistweaver because they have by far the best mana pools, the most longevity of any healer. And for Windwalker, I don't really see any changes. I'd rather them nerf the cleaving and buff the single target, but
yeah.
I don't think
Well,
that's gonna
the thing is they've spread out all of our numbers and percentages in so many different ways that they have all these little ways they can fine tune. They can fine tune the ratio that our Storm, Earth, and Fire does to lessen our cleave. They have all these different things they can tune. But I think they've kind of tuned us fine for right now. But then come Tier 18, we may get a slight attunement.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to want to get data from the raids, so nothing's going to happen until that, I think. They're not going to nerf a spec in the middle of, let's say, World First Race, because that would be...
Do you think we may
hopefully they wouldn't.
Do you think we may see a huge set of changes come Monday next week after they have all the heroic raid data?
I expect minor hotfixes to certain things to
There'll
see.
be some.
Yeah,
there'll definitely be some.
Nothing. It won't be like a full, class notes changes, long blog post, but you'll see minor tweaks here and there. Maybe like a 5% here. Yeah.
Okay.
There's still band-aids from 6.0 that need to come off.
Those band-aids, rip them off, please.
They need to get them off
Those
now
were
before
terrible.
the QQ starts. Just because that was... I mean, I understand why they did it. There's can be sound reasoning to it, but from the perspective of a raider who's just like, you're setting us up all to cry at the end of this because we're doing all this damage, and then suddenly you rip off that band-aid that was to fix us for not having a stat and talent that we're expected to have, and now we're back to where we're supposed to be, but we think we've just been nerfed freaking the ground.
Right. All right, so I want to go over some tips. We have some wonderful Mythic Monks here. Someone that's now 100 is trying to gear up to do Mythic next week. Maybe they're not in a World First team. Maybe they're not in the top 100 team, but they want to try out Mythic. What tips do you guys have?
Get as much gear as you can, really, from normal heroic raids. Obviously you want to do heroic dungeons first. It's very important. Do this challenge mode every day. It's worth it.
Yep.
Even if you pug it, lots of people are pugging them. Like, they're not like mop challenge modes. You can take it slow. Don't do it for the time. Just do it for the gear. Do it right. Get that gear. That's really important. And the LFR when it comes out, obviously. It's really nice.
This is going to be the first, only, and last time I ever suggest this. Get your garrison followers up in item level so that you can send them on missions so that you can get gear. You can get anywhere from 615, 630, 645, or even flat out raid gear if your garrison followers are high enough and the missions pop. It is a good way of getting gear. I'm done.
The one thing to keep in mind about that... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I heard today that if you when you get your 645, your second follower to 645, that locks you in for 3 weeks based on your current item level. So if you lock in right now, you're only going to get LFR gear.
I think normal actually. I want to say it's normal.
But if you
'Cause
wait and
Two
get
followers, okay.
if you wait and get a little more gear and get up to normal, you're going to get heroic gear for the next 3 weeks.
And if you can do heroic, you'll get mythic gear.
Right.
But
Is it item level based, or is it based on current progression?
That
and race?
I don't know. I don't know
it's
how
supposed
that
to be
actually
based
goes.
on your progression.
That's
of you
what I've
killing
heard
the
as
last
well.
boss,
Do you-
if I remember
Oh,
Is
correctly.
it last boss? Or
Kill the
So
last-
I want to
not-
say it's last boss.
Okay.
We'd have to confirm that, but if I
Okay.
remember correctly. However, to go on to that, if you get your followers to 630, you can still proc missions that give you 645 gear. I actually got one the other day, and it procced Warforged, so it's actually a 651 piece.
Oh,
Yep.
nice.
Okay.
Some
So-
people on my team have gotten
So
that as well.
try to get two followers to 630 to unlock those, and then if you're planning on getting into normal or heroic and downing that boss in a couple weeks, wait. Don't get two of them above 645 until you have killed that boss, and then you can get better gear.
But if you're just trying to catch up, obviously, try to get them as quickly as possible. Make sure you have the followers, lots of followers, though, with the stuff to counter it. Because the last thing you want to happen is see that pop up, you get a 15% chance to succeed or whatever because you
Right.
can't counter anything, and you miss it. So just kind of keep that in mind. Get your followers to Epic if you can. Do
Right.
everything you can to give yourself a good chance.
Salvage yard definitely helps with that, as does
Yes,
the bunker.
level 3.
And get your bunker up going too, because that's also more chances to get the tier up, the weapon and armor upgrades for your followers too.
Right.
The salvage yard level 3 does drop boxes that can give 665 BOEs. I've gotten 3 of these from my salvage yard.
Holy crap.
3.
Wow.
Do it. Get it on alts if you really want to go ham Sammy like I did. You can get 655 BOEs from those boxes though. Don't underestimate that.
Yeah.
It's pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Goodness.
I just like guildies go because it was nothing for me, of course, because RNG.
Okay. Well, I just want to kind of open up open discussion now. LeBlue or Air, do you guys have any questions for Monkioh? We don't get a someone from Midwinter on very often, so have at it.
Well, welcome to Monk Meditation. No, I mean, it's what are you doing right now? So as someone who's playing Mistweaver, played a little bit of Windwalker, who knows this monk class so well and is looking forward to getting into the world first, what do you do personally to prepare for this? You said you've had multiple characters. I mean, are they all same level? I mean, just what does it take?
Right, so right now we had a goal as a guild to get the 5 characters. We all had the level 5 characters, and the goal was to get them to somewhere between 630 and 635 item level across all 5 characters. I'm pretty close to that. I mean, I've got most of mine are around 633 or 632, somewhere around there. And then we'll do the 5 runs and get as much gear as we can before we do Mythic. And that's, for gearing wise, that's what we're doing. For High Mall, we had a lot of practice in beta for the live raid. So we're pretty familiar with the fight. We're pretty confident pretty confident going into it that we understand the mechanics. I think some people are underestimating the power of the gear, though. During the live raid, we were given, I think it was 665 item level gear, and
Okay.
we'll be going into this with about 635 item level
Right.
gear. So it's a significant difference, and I think people are underestimating that. But we'll see how it goes. I think
Yeah,
we'll
you're not going to bust
No,
through that
alright.
in an hour and 15 minutes this
right.
time.
No, it's
Yeah,
going to be
people in
difficult.
general, or people as in your team?
What are you referring to?
Like when you said
Oh,
people are.
Yeah,
thinking-
our team. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, okay.
So they're all thinking, oh yeah, we're going to bust through this in 2 hours. And
Yeah, that's not necessarily a general opinion. I just know some people are like, they think it's going to be, really quick, easy, because it's, it's heroic, and we did heroic so easily on the live raid. But people on alts, people with low gear, not everyone's as geared as others. It's, it's going to be difficult for some of us.
Okay.
But just generally, just brushing up on the fights, making sure we understand the mechanics. We got all our gems and chants, our weak auras. That's an important one. Everything ready to go. All add-ons good to go. That kind of stuff. Getting into the mindset of not standing at things. I know doing heroics, a lot of people were just standing and stuff because It's rogues. Who cares? And
Up
but
your healer's rank, yeah.
yeah,
Practice like you play.
yeah, exactly. Got to get in that
Um,
mindset now.
Okay, and then my question to you is: you have those 5 characters. How involved in garrisons are you required to be with them? Just out
Uh,
of curiosity.
we don't. I mean, there were no guild requirements for that. I think it's pretty much personal what you want to do. Obviously, we all are motivated to do the best we can and get the best buildings and setups that will help us in mythic progression. There's some leeway, obviously. You know, you can do pretty much whatever you want with the profession buildings. If you didn't get started early with the profession buildings, you probably won't have too many good pieces of crafted gear before mythic or heroic. But you know, the bunker's really good. We all wanted the bunker. The barracks can be good for follower missions, but some people are taking, what is it, the barn, I think is the other large plot.
Yeah, the
To help
Savage
with the
Bloods.
Savage Bloods, yeah.
Yeah,
So some
big
people
deal
make
with
that
beasts,
decision.
too.
I think that's the biggest difference between people is the barn or the barracks, depending on what they want to focus on. But the garrisons are not really a
Mandatory type thing.
yeah, a vital point for us. It's mostly gearing up your alts.
Did you have the team kind of helping you all out as well too with gear? You know, I know some of the teams on Airy Peak, they're trolling, not trolling, but they were, you know, barking trade chat every day, every hour of every day for the first few weeks, for first, I guess, 2 weeks now, buying up every single 665 BOE possible for people at the team. Did your guild do something similar to kind of get that edge as well, or?
Yes, definitely. We were
Okay.
definitely scouring the auction house for, you know, BOE pieces that not only to get us our alts geared up, but to have that gear available so that when we run our 5 runs, we'll be able to fill in any missing slots on the mains, you know, with that BOE gear.
Yeah. Have you guys
so
had
that
any
would
luck with the black market auction house?
I don't play that gambling game. That's too much for me. I don't have a whole lot of gold
Too
to
rich
spend.
for
but
your blood?
too
Someone
rich for my
CTR got a 695 plate waste last
Yeah.
week.
No way.
I saw that.
Oh
Yeah,
my
we've seen a
God.
couple. We've
Little
seen a
over
couple on our
at
server.
least 200k for it, though, if I recall.
insane.
Right.
Ours go to
But-
gold cap.
Are you fighting with any teams on your server directly?
Not that I know of. I
Okay.
don't really. For me, I don't really pay attention to all that. I just, you know, I go in, kill the boss as fast as possible, make sure we do it correctly and have fun. You know, as a guild, they may have their eye on certain people. I don't really pay attention to all that.
Okay.
I know that, you know, the big guilds. Some people are saying, you know, we're not really going for world first. We just don't raid the hours required to actually hit, you know, literal world first on bosses. But it'll be fun. It'll be fun to do for the first time. This is actually my first real top tier kind of progression rating experience, so it'll be fun.
Very cool, very cool.
Any last questions?
I think that's.
All right.
Ah,
Time.
good luck to you, Monkioh. That's, I mean,
Yeah.
and Midwinter, I'm really pulling for you guys. It's exciting to
You-
a new race. It's good stuff. I'm very excited to be
Always
We
watching.
haven't had
excited
this
for
for
the
over a
race.
year.
Yeah.
And
Rooting
I
for the
guess
Americans. Yeah.
Yes.
Blood Legion and freaking Midwinter.
yeah, we can hope. We'll see. As long as the U.S. comes out on top, we'll be all right.
Indeed.
So,
All right, it's now time to travel to the Peak of Serenity, the home for all monks in.
Zen pilgrimage.
Monks, assemble!
All right, we did have an email that came in to show@monkmeditation.com. The Shaolin Tiger from the Windrunner and Medivh server asked, since I hit level 100 on my Windwalker, I've been gearing up, but I'm finding that my energy regeneration has become garbage. Have any of you seen the same issue? I'm finding myself waiting on energy regen often. So, any tips for this guy?
Yes.
Gear.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's just what it is. You know, they want it to be. It's plain and simple. They wanted you to be capped on your energy, or not capped, but limited by your energy, not limited by your globals, which
Right.
makes it much more interesting. You can actually make mistakes, you know, and it would be difficult to recover from them. It makes it more fun and more interesting to play. Yes, your energy regen's lower because you like he just said, you know, you have less gear, but they also didn't they up the cost of jab, or did they revert
Yeah.
that? I can't remember.
They upped it. They
Now it's 25. They're 45 now.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they took it from 40 to 50 to 45.
Right. But it is intentionally slower to make
Yeah.
sure that you have time to make decisions, smart decisions about your rotation.
See, I'm finding it. I've spent a lot of time in Windwalker just leveling up because it's much easier to kill stuff than Mistweaver. I'm noticing it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. First of all, because of the 45 energy change, but second of all, the addition of Serenity. And I've kept Chi Brew. A lot of people go Ascension, but I'm keeping Chi Brew because it lets me control when I get that extra chi. Helps me so I get down to low energy and I don't have the energy to get up. I hit a Chi Brew, I can hit another cooldown, then I've got enough energy for another jab. And then pop Serenity, pop Fist of Fury, and I notice it when I'm doing a longer fight and I get about a minute and a half in. That's when I finally run out of everything. And then I'm like, ugh, wait. Now I can jab. So, but I thought it was going to be like that a lot more than it was. So I honestly don't think it's nearly as bad as people think. I think it's just going to be, your gear is going to help. But utilizing those abilities, Fist of Fury, Serenity, Energizing Brew, Chi Brew, if you're using that, using those wisely when you're low on energy is going to help you spread that out a lot more.
Playing with a high ping helps too.
Yes. So Shellin just moved to Japan. All will be well.
Yep, you're re-rating with your 160, 170 on a good day, ping, and you'll be all set.
Right.
You know, it'll be nice when I go back to America for Christmas because I'll be able to see what you guys experience for once.
And you're gonna be like, man, this is so slow. Midwinter sucks.
Yeah, but I mean, it's interesting to see because like I've been using Ascension, you're using Chi Brew. Some people, you know, depending on the situation, like Serenity, some like Chi Burst. No one really likes Hurricane Strikes yet.
No.
Or they like it, but it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it looks
but it
awesome.
Seems like
seems cool.
One thing is people can kind of choose how they want to play a bit more and will be relatively close.
Right.
You know, in last expansion it was, this is what you need, this is what you go for, this is how you do it. It's a lot more, you know, personal style can really come into play, which is really cool, I think, which is a really, honestly, a better way to play.
Right.
But, you know, yeah, I'm sitting now about a 638 eye level with my gear, and with Ascension, I'm not really having any downtime if I do anything right. Obviously, certain things help with that, moving, high ping, playing bad, but it's not as bad. I'm getting that Street Fighter feel again, which I personally like, but I know I had to kind of retrain my brain.
Yep.
To when I go back to Chi Brew if I want to, when I want to start using Chi Explosion like I should be, you know, I
just realized something. I bet the reason that I don't feel Windwalkers that slow is because I'm doing Mistweaver a lot. The 1.5 second cooldown, you go from that to Windwalker,
slow. Oh my goodness.
and you're like, oh, this is fast. This is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of Mistweaver, he actually, Shellin Tiger also asked that his raid team needs a healer, and he's trying to learn Mistweaver for the first time. So he wants to try to learn as fast as possible. Do we have any tips for him to kind of pick that up?
You know, I wrote a guide up on MMO Champion if you want to check that out. I tried to tailor it as much as I could to people who've never played the spec before. At the end, you can get, you know, look and see more advanced tips on how to play the spec, but generally it should get you started pretty well on how to heal as a Mistweaver, what targets, what spells to prioritize. But just learn what the spells do, know the difference between single target and AoE healing and when to best utilize that. The biggest part about healing is understanding the fights, the mechanics, the flow of healing or damage coming in on your group. You know, you have to either have that experience or that knowledge beforehand to really get the most out of your healer, regardless of what spec it is. Yeah. Monks are very much about setup. You know, you have to be ready with your chi, you have to be ready with your renewing mists on players. You know, you need to make sure you understand the fights. It's more going to be about that than the stats you choose in your gear or, you know, the consumables you use, whatever.
Yeah, if you're going to be a reactive healer, you're going to be very stressed, and you're going to run out of mana. You have to be a proactive healer to really get the most benefit out of being a Mistweaver. Our reactive tools, Life Cocoon, suck. And it takes us a while to gear up to do Uplift. So if you're switching out of Crane Stance because, oh crap, the raid just took, you know, a good chunk of damage and I need to get AoE healing out, you're going to take a while to ramp up. And so you have to know when those things are coming and get into the right stance. Learning when to bounce in and out of Crane Stance is going to be really, really helpful. Knowing when you can Crane Stance and be very good at it when there's a damage boost going on. That's going to really help. So, yeah, check out Monkioh's guide. Also pick up the signature guide for Brady Games. I wrote a nice little Windwalker and Mistweaver tip
Bump.
book. So, yeah, pick that up. Speaking of which, we were giving away a copy of that. And a winner has been announced. At Carolina Lynn has won a copy. And I'll be mailing that out to her tomorrow. She did ask me to sign it. I don't know why. Kind of destroys the value of the book.
Famous.
But, yeah.
Famous.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats.
I should have taken it to BlizzCon and had Monkioh sign it too. Damn. Ah well. So the giveaways are not stopping. Daikatsu has gracefully donated a. Let me reach over and grab it here. A Murghul. This is a
Nice.
BlizzCon 2014 exclusive Funko Pop. So he's giving his away. So to do that, visit monkmeditation.com. There is an entry widget for Rafflecopter there. You can just enter to win there, and we'll choose a winner next week or next episode.
Very cool.
All right. Is there... Let's see. Oh, Daikatsu just came up with something interesting. Bosses can multi-strike, apparently.
What?
Wait, bosses can
That
multi-strike
sounds
on you.
That's
Yes.
completely working as intended, I'm sure. Don't worry about it, guys.
Interesting. All right, were there any questions in the dojo I missed? I don't see any. Okay. Well, it's time to put the brew away then. So everyone, please rate us on iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube, or on Twitch.tv. Just let us know that you're a fan. Helps out a lot. And if you would like to support the show and help to make it even better, you can become our boss by going to patreon.com/monkmeditation. You can help guide the future of the show and get some fun rewards along the way. All right, I'm going to let everyone kind of shout out and sign off here. Air, got any shout outs for us?
Shout out to the guys of Convert to Raid for especially Part Shark and others working on the new raid tool for the guild. Some really cool work with that and to kind of organize everything. So they've all been putting a lot of work. Shout out to them because CTR we're hitting Warlords of Draenor, hitting Heimal soon. Very exciting stuff.
All right, and moving on to LeBlue.
Big shout out to my guild. Can't wait to be raiding again, finally. Please, Blizzard, please. And then big shout out to Mazer and Convert to Raid. I believe he's working
Yeah,
for
working as
taking
intended.
charge of the boot camps to do the Brewmaster boot camp for the Convert to Raid boot camp courses. So big shout out to him.
He's been running. Been running with a lot of heroics and challenge modes with him, things like that.
Yeah, I
he's-
ran a couple of heroics with him. He was he jumped in and did our invasion last night, right?
We had a 3-monk invasion. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, didn't quite get gold because Iron Horde sucks, but we came close.
Yeah, it was good. Good fun. But yeah, Mazer's a good guy. Good monk. Good stuff.
Yep. All right, and I want to give a shout out to Lady Chai for salvaging that Molten Core run and making it so I didn't have to run that stupid thing all over again. And shout out to Quillen. He's been very nice. He's reached out to me a lot on BattleNet, offers to help run heroics and stuff like that. Fantastic brewmaster. I hardly had to do anything. I was in crane stance the whole time healing him. So, all right, and Monkioh, got any shout outs?
No, I just thank you for having me on the show. Really, I want to show my appreciation for everyone who is doing the work in the monk community, like the Mistweavers specifically, like Geodu, Sublifts, Total Chai. Like those guys do a lot of work, and the Geodu recently put out the stat waves for Mistweavers, which people have been asking for a lot, and that was a lot of explanation and a lot of work. So I really appreciate everyone who supported that, the guide in that community.
Yeah, LeBlue was moist over that one.
I was swooning a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Chai was right with me swooning too.
Yeah,
Total
that
Chai,
was-
I mean. He was just like, oh, so good. Oh.
All right, and as part of the Monk community, if you have a blog, website, or person you want to see in the show, please reach out to us via email at show@monkmeditation.com. The Monk community is the best one in the world of Warcraft, and we want to showcase it. Hey, LeBlue, how can the dojo best reach us?
You can follow the show at monk_meditation. Follow Chai Tea at WowMonk. Follow Air at Air Walker. Follow Daikatsu at Daikatsu CTR. You can follow Guanshu at Geek of Random. You can follow myself at KaguraI_LeBlue, not to be confused with LeRed.
No.
And our guest, Monkioh at Monkioh.
All right, thank you all for listening. Come join the dojo and watch us live. We love interacting with you. Our next episode will be on Monday, December 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and 100 UTC at twitch.tv/wowmonk. If you can't make the dojo, don't worry about it. You can catch us after the fact in audio on iTunes, Stitcher, and other podcast directories, or in video at twitch.tv/wowmonk, or our YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/monkmeditationshow. If you can't remember any of those, just visit monkmeditation.com for links to all the ways to watch and listen to the show. Monk Meditation is part of Catalyst Gaming Media. For other great gaming blogs, podcasts, and events, visit catalystgamingmedia.com. That wraps up this episode of Monk Meditation.
May your bruise be strong and your heart stronger.